Hello and welcome back to the Greek Pyramid. As you can see from the title, I thought for this video I would look at what Greek myths I think I would have liked to have seen included in the Greek part of the Riordan verse, such as in the Percy Jackson series and beyond. This is not intended as a critique of any kind, I just think it would be interesting to see how these would have played out in the books, and also I'm sorry if these have been covered at any point or their tale was ever used. I've tried to make sure as much as possible, but from what I can remember these aren't included in the books at all. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. The first myth I wanted to include in this video is Osiro. Osiro is the daughter of Chiron, the centaur we know and love, and his wife Chariklo. Chariklo was a nymph whilst Osiro was a centaur, and Osiro was able to see things that her fates couldn't, so she had some form of prophetic powers. This led her to see a vision of her father Chiron being poisoned, and due to the pain he was enduring, he would have to give up his immortality. As the gods did not wish for Chiron to learn of his fate, they turned Osiro into a horse so she could no longer speak. And despite Osiro's warning, Chiron was still bitten by a poisonous serpent, which led to unbearable pain, and due to it being incurable, he gave up his immortality, leading him to die and eventually becoming the constellation Sagittarius. This shows how you can't run from your fate, and also how learning your fate does not mean you can change it. I think this would blend well with what we see from Chiron not sharing the great prophecy with Percy, as the gods willed it, but also showing why he took that so seriously. I think it helps add some further emotional backstory to Chiron, but I can also see why it wasn't included, as then you have to explain why Chiron died but is now around teaching the heroes. But you could say Zeus brought him back to life in order to teach, or something like that. The second character that I came across that I thought would be interesting to see in the Percy Jackson world is Menis. He was the son of Iapetus and Clymene. He was killed by Zeus in the first Titan War by a flash of lightning that banished him to Tartarus. He is thought to be the Titan of rash actions, violent anger, and human mortality, although very little is known about him from the myths. It is thought that his rash actions and hubris caused his death very early on in the war, so I could see him being out for revenge for what was done to him, much like the other Titans. I also could see him as more of a splinter group to Kronos, who is known for being very calculated and having everything planned out, whilst Menis is very rash and will more just so try and take down Olympus as quickly as possible by trying to destroy Percy and probably only beaten by the heroes thinking their way out of the problem. Much like the last myth with Osiro and Chiron, I think it would also help bring back the idea of fatal flaws, as this is how Menis was supposed to die. Given that Menis is also the son of Iapetus, I think it would be interesting to see how he would react when Iapetus is turned into Bob. Although we do already see this in part in the House of Hades with two of Bob's brothers. The final myth to look at today is Macaria, who is the goddess of a blessed death. She is often thought of as the more merciful counterpart to Thanatos, who we see in the son of Neptune. She had the ability to give a mortal a gentle and blessed death with just a single kiss when it's the time for their death, making the mortal feel no pain and having them drift off to a gentle and calm death. As you may suspect at this point, she is the daughter of Hades, according to some myths. As I'm saying this, I know it sounds like quite a weird addition, but the reason I would like to see Macaria is I would like to see a nice child of Hades that wasn't created by Rick. This is because we do see the nice part to Hades, but only at certain points throughout the Percy Jackson series, particularly the end, and only at certain times with Hazel. The only problem is, I'm not sure where to put Macaria in, but I can see her in some way fitting into Bianca D'Angelo's death, as Hades could have sent her to help with Bianca's passing. Or she could have come up with Hades to help with any of the fallen in the last Olympian. I also think she could help to counteract her sister Melano, who we see in the Demigod Files. And with this idea of a kind child of Hades, it could be potentially before we see Nico start to be truly a force for good, and before we see Hazel. So, that is all we have time for today for the myths that I would like to have seen in the Percy Jackson universe. Let me know in the comments if you think these would have been good additions to the book, or maybe a mini spin-off book, or if you think these would have completely ruined them. Tell me in the comments which myths you would have liked to see within these books, and why. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys for more content like this next video. Goodbye.